Welcome to another week of Celtic Chalk Talk. My name's Steve Purciello, a lifelong Celtic fan, going back to the Bill Russell days. Always with him, always watch him, and enjoy them. This week was an interesting week. We went 2-2 and could have been better, and we just didn't play well as we have. The first game was against the Bulls. You're always worried in that first game about a letdown after being out west. First game back is always trouble. First quarter and the first half, Celtics came out like there was no letdown. They shot the ball well, they played well, and they opened up a 20-point lead. Now, the Bulls aren't a great team, but they opened up a 20-point lead because the Bulls couldn't make a three predominantly. They had some open looks. They couldn't do anything. The game moved on by the third and fourth quarter. Third quarter, Boston continued a big lead. Fourth quarter, it got interesting. And by that, the Bulls came. You cut it to 11 and you got worried. Here we go again. But Boston held on, won by 15, and it really wasn't much of a problem of a game. I at least thought that you needed two of the three to win, meaning Brown, White, and Pritchard. This game, Anthony Simons answered a lot. He had 27 points in the second half. He went off. He was on fire, and he really carried them. Pritchard had 21, which was good. The other thing that was really a positive was Namias Queta. Namias had 13 and 13. Think about that for a while now. Think about coming into the season, what we thought we were going to get from Namias, and think about what we're getting. He has played way better than anybody thought. And along with Garza, they make it a great pair as the bigs for Boston. So that's a positive for them. And that's important. The next 2 nights later, they played Denver. Home again. All 4 games were home. Denver shot the ball tremendously. They didn't have Jokic, but Murray was just tremendous. And they shot. They hit some big threes down the stretch. Watson played well. And Boston just didn't have it. They were sluggish. They didn't play well. Just had a good night. And they were beaten. And things happen like that in the NBA season. You just write it off and move on. By Friday night, they were playing the Toronto Raptors. That was an interesting game. Raptors had a lot of guys out, but Boston shot the ball real well. They had a tremendously hot first half. They were getting open threes, and they were just making everything. But with Barnes and Pirtle out, they weren't their best, as well as Ingram. They weren't their best. It showed. Pritchard had 27 and Brown had 25. I guess I would look at it as 8 rebounds and 7 assists for Brad. Hauser had 19. He shot well, and he's been in a little bit of a hot streak, except he missed the Spurs game, which I'll get to. The one thing that bothered me in this game, Boston doesn't always contain the ball. It's pretty easy to see, but the best results you'll see is that allows open threes. Anytime dribble drive breaks down, the defender, and they get to towards the basket and they kick out, that three is going to be wide open. Boston in this game and in the San Antonio game began the habit of not containing the ball. When you don't, like I said, you get hurt with the three, and that's what it seemed Toronto was able to do. I don't think they were just outmanned and they were beaten with the injuries that they had coming in. But that's something to watch because it continued into the Spurs game. And the Spurs hurt Boston numerous times with wide open threes. Boston was up 5 at the end of 3 and really looked like they had a good shot. They rebounded well. Early in the game, Wembanyama was not a factor. AB was playing well, got off quickly and real well. And then by halftime, Brown and White had 17 each, and it looked really good. Ball pressure was good in the first half. But then in the third quarter, and fourth quarter rather, it started breaking down. Now, I'm gonna offer something to think about. Boston was coming off to a back-to-back. Generally, they say the third quarter is when a team breaks down in the back-to-back. Boston kind of showed signs in the fourth quarter, hitting front rim on some shots. JB stopped hitting. Derrick White, who always makes the big shot in the fourth quarter, had nothing. And these were things that you don't usually see. Now, some positives. Joe Mazzulla used Jordan Walsh, and it's crazy, but it works. Jordan Walsh on the big guy, Wembanyama. And every time Wembanyama was in, Walsh was in. When he wasn't in, Walsh came out. Ugo started because Wemby came off the bench, and then they used Walsh in him. The fourth quarter was rough. There's a couple things that just didn't work out. You hope that a guy like Anthony Simons is a game where they can pick it up and maybe help them get over the top. He wasn't, and I'll talk about that. The first thing I wanted to mention, Anthony Simons, he's valuable. A given night, he can go off at any time, and he did against the Bulls. The thing that bothered me now when we go to the converse, against San Antonio, Anthony Simons in the fourth quarter seemed to defer to Jaylen Brown, defer to everybody. Though Missoula had him out there with that first unit, and Pritchard was sitting. And I think they were looking for Simons to hit a few, and he wasn't even looking for a shot. And that was bothering me because you needed his offense in the back-to-back. Now, let's talk about Derrick White. Derrick White, wow, he should be an all-star. The 6 or 7 block shots he had earlier in the week is amazing when you consider he's a guard under 6'4". He's just amazing. What really is impressive when you think about it is he doesn't look like a great athlete. He doesn't play like this great athlete, but his decision-making is tremendous. That and the fourth quarter ability to take a game over is just outstanding. These are like things that you don't teach. They just have that in them, and Derrick White does. Going back to Simons, he's shooting 41% from three, and that, again, goes back to the San Antonio game, why you would have liked him to start shooting. And this is in 23.9 minutes a game going into Saturday. He was averaging 13.6, which is pretty good. And in the last 6 games, he shot 57% from three. Championship teams need guys like that off the bench, and he is without a doubt one of the best players coming off the bench in the league. There's no question on that. The biggest problem I saw all week was the ball pressure, and the ball pressure allowed, as I said earlier, those open threes that hurt Boston. They need to do a better job guarding the ball and keeping men in front of them. It's very important because if you give an NBA player a wide open three, they'll knock them down over 50% of the time, I believe. An interesting thing I wanted to just touch on. If you looked into the season and you had a bunch of things that if this happens, we're going to do okay. And I'm going to use it. Wall, we didn't expect anything. Ugo is much better than we thought, and he will be a real player in time. Queta has played well, as I said earlier. Luka Garza, perfect complement for Queta. They're a little different. Garza can shoot from three. Queta can't. Both of them quite great as centers. Who else? Shireman, who played great against San Antonio. Good bench player. So everything you thought about if this happens is working out for the Celtics. That's why they're so in third place, close to the Knicks for second. That's why it is. A couple of interesting things. Amari Williams is chewing it up in the G League. He's really doing great. Where do you find time for him, and do you begin to move him in? That's if you're looking at the future. There's a lot of rumors that the Celtics want to trade and get another big. But if they believe Amari Williams can do that, they don't need to trade. And by the way, a scout for another team said something like he's on his way to being a player, meaning, look out, Amari can play. I think at this point in the season, we can look at the Celtics as a team. The Celtics are pretty good. They're not, right now, a title team. They're very close. And I think what's needed, maybe Tatum. I don't know where you trade because, as I said, if you're planning on seeing Amari Williams become the big, you don't need bigs. And then what do you do if he does move in? What do you do with Garza or Queta? So that's one thing. I think they're fine with shooting. I think they're fine. JB and White and Pritchard being your leads and Simons off the bench. They don't need to trade him either. So right now, maybe it's Tatum, but the Celtics are close to being a real good team. And in the Eastern Conference, nobody really knocking everybody over. I got to think if you do something or if Tatum comes back healthy and is good, you've got as good a shot as any. And that's something to hold our hopes to as Celtic fans, because when we came into the season expecting nothing, and look at what we've got. So, all in all, it's been a fun year so far. It's enjoyable. I enjoy watching their games. I enjoy talking about their games, and it's been a great thing. That's it for now. Tune in again next week when we do another week of Celtic Chalk Talk. Thank you.